Happy 4th of July. Hello everyone and welcome back after a very long time to Blender for Designers. I'm going to show you how to make this cool American flag animation. And I'm doing an American flag because I'm American and it's the 4th of July. And I'm actually doing it's a flapping flag and then it's animating the history of our flag. We have 50 stars here for the 50 states and we added a star each state. So, but you can do this, you could do like a Union Jack animation where you add like, the St. Andrew's cross and the, whatever it was, the St. Patrick's cross, or the, you could do a Japan animation where you have a rising sun, something like that. So anyway, but I'm going to do American because I'm American. So I've already built this one, obviously. So I'm going to show you, I'm actually going to do an Instagram version on a square. So I'm going to show you how to build that one. This chair's awesome, isn't it? All right, so the first step is to get the flag. And I have an Illustrator file here of the flag. But you can download a SVG file or just draw it from Wikipedia. There's actually a public domain version right here. So now we're going to load up Blender here and actually create the flag. And this should be fairly simple. So we're in Blender. I'm going to size it so you can see the entire screen. And basically I automatically go to cycle, so you want to make sure you do that. Going to delete the default cube, hit 7 to get into top view, and then I'm going to create a plane. So very basic so far, and I'm going to hit N to bring up this transform palette here. And like I say, I'm going to look at the dimensions here of the whole thing actually. So it looks like I'm 12 by 6.29. So let's just do dimensions are 1.2 in X. Oops, sorry. Yeah, 1.2 and 0.629 in Y. And then we can, that's way too small, so we can just hit Control Apply Scale, Control Apply Scale, and scale this up a little bit. So let's just normalize it so we have the height of 4 or something. Height of about 4. It doesn't honestly matter. I'm honestly spending way too long doing this. So let's go to 1, which is the front view. We're going to RX 90 to bring it to the front. We're going to Control A, apply rotation and scale again. And then we're going to, so we have our plane. We need to subdivide it to get the cloth effect of this flapping. So we're going to go to W subdivide. Let's do about, I don't know. We don't actually need that many. We'll further do a subdivision subsurface later, but 10 is probably fine. We may want to divide this, so just hit return to, or yeah, that already happened. One thing we can do is just re-subdivide these so we get a little bit more depth here. I'm just creating loop cuts. It's probably not the most efficient way to do it, but I don't care. Just want to get these about square. Great. Okay. So then what we want to do is a cloth sim. So what we want to do is go to physics, go into cloth, and then, all right, cloth, let's just start with that. And then we want to create this, we want to pin. So, because we want to have this bit be the part that stays on the pole and this part be the bit that flaps. So let's add a vertex group. And we will assign to the vertex group, we will call it pin. And then let's just check to make sure that is in fact, yep, that is a correct vertex group. And then we will go to, there we go to cloth. And I believe, I don't know where all these things are. Pinning, we want to pin the pin. All right, great. And then we can go Control A. It's Alt A. Yep, and that is correct. That is exactly what we want. And just to get rid of that, we're going to hit smooth shading. And then we'll subdivide this later. You don't actually need to use the subdivisions. You can see this kind of not really subdivided all that well, but you don't have to worry about it until we get we can add a subdivision surface just to smooth that out a little bit. Excuse me. So great. Let's add some wind to this bad boy. So we can do a. It looks like force field, and I want wind, and I want it to RY 90. If we go, yeah, we're gonna go orthographic for a sec to see that, and we can increase the strength. I forget exactly. Let's try 100 just to start out with, and then we can just. Usually the cloth simulations run pretty quickly, so we can just see what this looks like. That's pretty weak. Oh no, there it goes. That's not bad actually. It's got a nice little got some nice looping to it. Well, maybe not. Okay. All right. So that's a good physics thing to do. All right. So let's actually make this an American flag as opposed to just a regular random flag. So what we want to do, let's first of all save this, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this over, bring up a UV image editor, and then I'm going to open American flag. Woo! And then I'm going to do a really simple thing, which is tab into here, select everything, shading UV. Right, here we go. So unwrap, we want to do project from view. Or actually we want to do project from view bounds, and then it's perfect. We can go into texture mode. We should have a perfect American flag, but let's actually see what that looks like by going into our node editor. And whoo, that's crazy. And then let's just get rid of that. And let's go to material. That's a world. We don't want world. We want a new material here. We'll call this US flag. And then we want to add texture input. Image texture. There's only one in here so far. There should be. And then texture. Great. So then we'll go back to the beginning and run that cloth sim. All right, that looks good. Alt A. All right, okay, and then I think we want more than a couple frames. So I'm gonna I don't know, let's say, do a 15-second animation. So 15 times 24. So 360. All right, great. And then let's go back to my cloth settings. Let me just increase the steps. And then I believe we can just bake this. Great. So let's take a look at that. See if we like the animation again. Think I like it. Think I like it. Great. Wait, why is it not? We only baked up to 250. So we just free the bake, and then let's go to 360. So a 15-second bake. Maybe do more, but let's bake that. It doesn't take that long. Cloth is not that complicated. All right, so now let's actually make this a structural thing. So we can say, yeah, that's so cool. I love that. So let's add a little modifier. Let's add a subdivision surface on top of this. Let's add 2. And then let's add a solidify. And then the solidify could be 0.005. We don't want it very thick at all. Let's actually hit Z to see what actual thickness it is. Yeah, that seems good. And then we can go back to texture mode to kind of see what the American flag actually looks like. Yeah, see, the subdivision actually really helps kind of really smooth that out. Well, solidify kind of messes with it too, but yeah, this will look super nice. All right, so let's just run through this again. Should still basically work. I actually kind of like the way it kind of falls, and then we kind of flap in the wind, and it's really cool. All right, 15 seconds going to be enough? 15 seconds may not be enough. Let's do 30. So let's do 30 times 24. 4. Yeah, let's do a 30 seconds. That's 720, and then let's go back to the cloth simming, free the bake, go to 720. All right, and then let's bake that again. So let's go and grab the see this flag 30 seconds. This is all the OBJs I exported from Blender, and you can see it's actually just a series of OBJs. It's 720 because it's a 24 frame per second at 30 seconds. So that's 720, and you can see they're just a series of OBJs, which are 3D files. So to do that, to get this into After Effects now, we're going to create a new composition, which is going to be a square composition for we'll call this flag Insta, and then we're going to do 1080 by 1080. Let's do a white background. Let's just do a gray background because I'm going to add a white solid later. And then 30 seconds, which I already have, and that's perfect. Okay, cool. And then, so I'm going to create a new solid, Command Y, and then we're going to call this E3D. Going to make it fuchsia just to keep track of it. And then I'm going to go into Element, Video Copilot, Element 3D. Great. All right, so then what we also need to get is this flag animation, which I have here. And you can see I've actually pulled from Wikipedia all these flags that we have. This is kind of the history. That's not the history of our flag. This is the history of our flag. Kind of going over which each of them are. I just pulled those images. They're all under like public domain or Creative Commons or something. So you can see I was going to try to animate them, and that's just like, let's just dissolve between them. It looks fine. There's only 4 frames per dissolve anyway, and there's all these kind of cool little star arrangements that we've come up with in our past. So it basically just goes through all that. So that's lovely. So that's going to be our texture. So that, I wanted to put that in the file here. So I'm going to go to Project, grab Flag Animation, and then start from there. And then great, you can't see anything because it's much bigger than the comp. And then I'm going to go into Element 3D. I'm going to go into Custom Layers, Custom Texture Maps, and I'm going to sample that flag animation and leave it off. All right, so now let's actually import the animation itself. So I'm going to import the animation. So you have to go to Import 3D Sequence, and then you can go into American Flag, Flag 30, and then do it by name, and then just grab 001. And so I'm going to, this is all fine. Model center, load material. Great. All right, so you can see it actually looks pretty flat. But if you go to, you can see the baked animation here, you can offset the frame. You want to turn this back, but you can kind of see how this is going. So I'm going to, actually, I'll put on something interesting like this. And then, so we want to create a material for this. We'll call this material flag. And then I'm going to cheat here, and I'm going to go into the Pro Shaders, which I happen to have, and I'm going to grab a fabric material. So I'm going to grab a fabric sheet white material, which is close enough. So that gives me a nice little bump map here, which I'm actually going to increase a bit. And it gives me a glossy map, which I'm actually going to make it glossier. Going to add a bit of reflectivity, just a bit, like 4%, 4%. And then for the diffuse color, I'm going to totally not do that. I'm going to use my flag animation. So there we go. And that's the first one. It's the Betsy Ross flag. Actually, apparently we used the Union Jack at that corner for our first year or something, but we didn't know anything. So that just seems wrong. It just seems wrong to have the Union Jack on an American flag. Like, really? Anyway, so you got that. So that's and then that should be here. And then I'm going to go ahead and redo a few things, and let's just see how that animates. So that looks pretty good, although it's obviously ridiculously tiny. So let's go back into After Effects here. So actually, you see it goes to the right part. And actually, I want to make sure I'm not offsetting. Yes, I want to do not offset, at least for now. And then I want to actually let's offset again just to check our lighting scheme. All right, because I want to change the environment. I'm gonna go for a basic environment, something outside. Something that looks like it's outdoors. That's a pretty good one, but I think something like that, which I think was done in LA, and LA is in America, so it's perfect. I'm gonna lighten it up just a bit. All right. So hit OK, and then one other thing, I'm going to take the frame offset to 0, and I'm actually going to just scale this up like 400%. Just so it occupies a fair amount of our space. Yay, okay. And then I'm going to create a new camera. Let's do like an 80. Let's do an 80. See what, we can go. Then, obviously this is a square format, so we can rotate this around. And we want to have that upper left part. That's the part that's actually going to change throughout the most part. And that's actually called the canton, I think. Something like that. There's actually a name for it, and it's like a part of the flag. And that's going to be the bit that changes. And actually, I might rotate this just a bit. And then really zoom in just to really, because we're going to have a nice... Yeah, let me cut that side off, and I hadn't really thought of how I was going to do this, but yeah, we kind of want to see the flapping in the wind kind of thing, but then really focus on that canton, and then maybe angle it up so it looks like it's almost on like a flagpole or something, and you can really see it from the ground. Should be kind of interesting. Yeah. And you can see, the way Blender simulates, it starts by falling. So, okay, that looks good. That looks good. Let's look at the lighting. Let's actually first create a new solid that's a white solid. So, because we want to kind of go for a white background, and then light to that. Because then I can see clearly it's too dark. So let's go to... Alright, let's go to render settings. That's where we're going to do the lighting, physical environment, lighting, twirl all these things down. Alright, so rotate environments. Well, environment's not going to make much of a difference because we only have... like... we only have... Yeah, we only have like 4% reflection, but there should be some default lighting, and actually I kind of want to bring it to the top because it should look like, so we're going to rotate this in X, so we have kind of a high light. We kind of have a light that's kind of coming down from like the sky. This is like outdoors or something. At least when you picture flags, you picture them like outdoors. I want to create quite a bit of shading that goes in here, so it really feels like. Rotate all the way, yeah, like really. Because we can see kind of some shade in. Yeah, so you can see some shade in the detail, as the flag flaps, you can kind of see some highlights and some shadows, and it really looks like it's good. And let's just pull. There's a problem with the. Pull it down just a little bit. Because we really want to see, and let's maybe pull out just a little bit. I really want to see that, the flag detail. Let's go all the way to 50 states here. Yeah, we don't want to like knock out. What's the last state? Hawaii. I like Hawaii. We don't want to knock out Hawaii there, or maybe it's the first state. Delaware. I don't know. Delaware is cool too. I just want to see that we got some good shading. I'm gonna rotate it just a little bit. Nah, I kind of like the high angle. It felt really cool and spectacular. I feel there's a lot happening in the bottom right, but angle it even further. I need to actually read this thing. That's nicer. That I like. That's cool. Yeah, that feels right. Okay, it's not as high of an angle, but it feels right. Yeah, let's look at this lighting again. Okay, yeah, let's add a little vignette here to the bottom. Let's just do it like that. And then we can just use an elliptical mask. to bring up the mask properties. Set it to subtract. Set the feather to like something ridiculously high. And then we can tweak the expansion. And let's add a noise to this at like 3 or 4%, just to kind of break it up and not make it, like try to avoid some banding there. And then I think yeah, you can see all 50 states there. That's cool. All right, and then so let's go back to element 3D here. All right, so I think we're just about done. I maybe want to just increase the lighting here, not lighting influence, but the brightness multiplier just a little bit, just to kind of give you, let these colors not run and whatnot. And then I think I don't want to begin right here because that just feels silly. It just kind of stiffens and falls, and yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with the falling thing here, maybe just a little bit. Because your first one's your first one is the your first one's like the keyframe. So we'll start there, and then. Yeah, and then we can kind of just animate all the 50 states on, or whatever. Yeah, there's some weird shapes they came up with in the 19th century. All right, well that's about it. So let's hit render. Command Control M. Yeah, I want to render this into a 422H2, so we could do flag insta, and then render the flag. There it goes. So happy 4th of July, everyone, and hope you enjoyed this. If you liked the video, well, like the video, and subscribe if you want. And check out my Instagram, where I have this image and several others. Not all 3D, some are like time-lapse and stuff. But I post every day, and it's always a cool new image. So check it out. The link is in the description. And have a good one, and hopefully I'll be able to make these more often. All right, bye-bye.